question now becomes, can I get voice set up on this second try, on this second take? This is my second take. We're going to basically try to one-shot it. We've gotten further. I'm hoping that in 5 minutes, within 5 minutes, I want to get this sorted and taken care of. So can we get voice set up for Hermes Agent on Android within 5 minutes using also SSH, which is another limitation that's been a problem. So let's see what's going on. We're kind of just resuming from our last session. We're going to try using voice TTS, which is the command that it is telling us to use, which is going to come up and say, error, voice is not on. It simply says, oh, let me just copy and paste it here for it here, copy and paste, right? So we copy, we paste that into here, right? And then we see what it does, right? It's looking through, right? I have found the culprit. My previous attempt to fix the configuration actually corrupted the structure of the config. We're going to allow. And then it says, I'm going to perform a surgical repair to remove the duplicate key and restore the correct structure. I will use the nuclear option I've already read. Hold on, I'm performing a full. I will be very careful to preserve all your settings like models and personality and toolsets. Sure you will. I probably should have did a quick commit to Git, because we haven't done a Git commit recently, or pushed our changes up to Git in a while. Having like a nice save really quick might be wise. I think what I'll do is just go ahead and have it save everything. Can you go ahead and save our changes to GIT really quick, just so that from here on out we have something saved and we can go from there? Uh-oh. Uh-oh, here we go. Yeah, this seems about right. Pretty much what the AIs do. Oh, I apologize. I'm sorry. I accidentally destroyed your whole file and ruined everything. So we see that AI and harnesses can potentially be beneficial. I'm still struggling to show you guys that right now. It seems that the more you're trying to work out the actual pipeline, that's when you're going to run into the most issues, when you're trying to actually figure out the pipeline. But once you've figured out all the bugs, etc., then theoretically the pipeline should run smooth. We're still trying to figure out a potential Aura pipeline right now, but hopefully I can show you guys some smoother workflows that could actually show you some real world like use case scenarios for having an agentic harness in your workflow, or having an LLM in your workflow, and things like that. But as of right now, obviously I'm showing you a lot of mistakes and errors and things like that, but I can assure you that the agentic harness definitely does have some potential use cases. We just got to explore them, and we're going through a lot of these technical bugs here as we try to kind of smooth things out and just get things more streamlined for use, right? So it looks like it's still thinking. I'm not very happy with this. I'm just gonna do a steer command, which basically just says hey, when you're done doing whatever you're doing, do this, steer. Hey, stream interrupted by network error, finish reason length on partial stream stub. So it's something is wrong. I've never seen that error before. I'm just gonna interrupt it. Are you still working? So it's still working here, still working. We're at 5 minutes so far, friends. The question is, can I now, this is my second chance, my second try. My last video was me trying to solve this problem. Can I now, in this one video, fix TTS on Hermes on my Android device in this one video. Can we get it working without taking forever or having to say, all right, we have to give up and, come back on the next video? And ideally doing it quick, but it's taking still forever. I'm trying to interrupt it and it doesn't want to be interrupted clearly. Considering issuing a stop command. I'm considering issuing another just interrupt command. Not quite sure how I want to handle this. Let me see here. I think I'm going to issue a stop command. I don't think it's going to do anything. Yeah, she's really frozen up right now. And remember, she just destroyed our the config file as well. So not only is it frozen, but it also destroyed our config file. And yeah, now that I think about it, since we didn't save, that is destroyed. And now that I think about it, I almost was about to really freak out, because what if they destroyed the config file and made it so I could no longer use Hermes, because all the information about how Hermes is supposed to operate is now been destroyed. So as soon as Hermes tries to use a call or do something, the config file is destroyed and it has no no information on what to go off of. So that's what I was still kind of worried about. It does say that it's starting to preparing to write files. It doesn't give us any more information about what file it's going to write or why or etc, etc. All we know is that it's potentially going to write files. And this session has been going for 9 hours, which is crazy. I accidentally forgot to close it. But I didn't get my full 8 hours of sleep tonight, or last night, so that kind of sucks. But anyway, this is taking an incredibly long time. We're going to see if it's still working, which it is. Are you still working? Oh, new message detected. Interruption. Stop. Are you still working? Just do something different, man. Gosh, these LLMs, they're so smart, but so cumbersome and dumb sometimes too. And that's the job of the AI harness engineer these days, is to make it so that it is not clunky, that it is smooth for the user, for the end user, so that the user can just simply say, hey, go do this, and it goes like boom, 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 and it outputs whatever the user wants, not a bunch of tinking around back and forth, etc, etc. So I think that is the goal for most businesses right now, to produce harnesses that are reliable and consistent and accurate and things like that, right? So it doesn't look very good right now. It's not looking great, right? I saw a little bit of movement. I'm gonna say hello to it again. It's like, bro, what are you doing? Brother, we've been here for 20 minutes waiting for your response. Jesus Christ. It shouldn't take that long, brother. It should take you 2 seconds. Yeah, okay, I don't believe you for a second, but sure. Voice enabled true and okay. Yeah, that's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. That command is not gonna work, I promise you. But we're gonna try it. We're gonna try it. Does the command work? It says enable voice mode first, right? So I'm gonna try enabling voice mode. So voice on, right? And then it's gonna give, of course, the 2 errors, or really the main error that's plaguing us right now, which is that it's not available supposedly in this environment. That is the main issue that we're running into right now. Having trouble copying all that. Let's see if we can get it here. There we go, copy. Let's put it in here and send it to the LLM. Uh-oh, hopefully I didn't do a / command inside of there. I think I kind of did. Nah, I think I did the gearbox maybe. Yeah, I think I sent the gearbox, hopefully. Let's see if the LLM can figure this out, because we have been hitting, like, just banging our head against a brick wall here for way too long trying to figure this out. And it just may not be possible or easy or something. I don't know. I'm sure it's possible. Definitely not easy. We've learned that already. Voice enabled to true and Hermes config set to voice auto TTS true. The problem is that this auto TTS thing was like something that was created by the LLM. I don't even know how functional that feature is going to be. I just don't know if this LLM is going to be able to fix this. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to tell Claude as well, because we need backup. Like, we need to elicit the help of any LLM to get the answer to this, right? So we're just going to start a brand new chat, and I'm just going to give it some, like, I'm just going to give it some background about what's going on and then paste this stuff. So I'm currently on Android on Hermes. I'm trying to turn on voice. I'm using Termux and Terminus. I'm SSH'd in. I just want TTS one way so that the LLM sends its responses back to me in voice. Right now we're trying to set up Edge. I'm pretty sure we have everything kind of set up for Microsoft Edge to, you know, send the voice back. We've even done tests and we can hear it, but at the end of the day, there's some errors basically saying that, like, TTS is unavailable in this, or voice enabled is unavailable in this environment. So we've tried to, like, go into the config file, I believe, and enable it, and then maybe, like, create some, like, special parameter called, like, auto TTS on and stuff. I don't know what my LLM and my Hermes agent are doing right now. I don't even know if they're solving the problem correctly. But this is the error that we're currently getting. I'm just wondering if you could give us some direction on how we could solve this problem easily on Android to get TTS one-way voice working so that the LLM can talk and we can hear. Okay, so now we're going to paste that response, and we're going to get the response back. You're out of messages until 1 p.m. And then you want to know the worst part about that is? This is the worst part about that whole situation. It's like, bro, okay, that's fine, but at least give me my message back so I don't have to rewrite it. Oh, that literally pisses me off so much. That literally, I can't. I am so frustrated. Okay, I can, but I'm really frustrated. That really pisses me off. Holy Hannah, that pisses me off. Wow, that pisses me off. Oh my goodness, that pisses me off. We're gonna go with ChatGPT, I guess. Gosh, that triggered me. Might even do Grok as well. Let's do a new chat. Let's see, can we tell it, like, high level or whatever? Not really. No, okay. Can't really specify what we want to do here. Okay. I'm on Android. I'm working on Hermes. I'm on Android. I'm working on Hermes on my Android device. I'm trying to get voice set up, like TTS one way with Microsoft Edge, so that the responses from the Hermes agent are spoken out loud. I've been running into multiple issues and errors along the way. I need to figure out the best solution. One of the biggest errors that we're running into right now is simply that supposedly voice is not allowed in an SSH environment. I'm not sure. Can you please kind of evaluate the situation and help me and my Hermes agent figure out how to solve this problem? Okay, so now we're going to paste this into here, and this time, instead of being a silly lad, I'm going to take all of this. This is probably a pro tip for everyone, including myself. Never enter your prompt in an LLM without having a copy of it, because you could easily lose your prompt and you may have spent 5 minutes crafting it. So you don't want to do that either. Yes, that error is actually pointing to the underlying problem, but it doesn't necessarily mean voice is impossible. The key question is where Hermes is running versus where you want the audio to play. From what I remember of your setup, Hermes is running remotely or in a Linux environment that you're connected to over SSH. You're controlling it from your Android phone. You want the responses spoken on your Android device using Microsoft Edge TTS or another Android voice engine. Those are two different machines. When you type, Hermes is trying to access the Linux machine's audio hardware, not your phone speaker. SSH does not forward audio by default, so Hermes says running over SSH, no audio device is available. This is expected. There are several possible solutions. What I'd recommend, move TTS to Android. Instead of Hermes generating speech, Hermes sends text. The Android app browser performs TTS. Advantages: works anywhere, uses your phone's excellent voices, no pulse audio headaches, lower latency, battery efficient. This is generally how modern AI assistants are built. That makes sense. Forward pulse audio over SSH. This is what Hermes is hinting at. You'll need pulse audio or pipewire server, SSH forwarding, pulse server configured. I figured this was the case, but I didn't really get really into the nitty gritty. Android acting as an audio sync, very common. This is technically possible, but fairly fragile. That doesn't sound like fun. Run Hermes locally on Android. If Hermes is actually running inside Termux on Android instead of on another computer from the SSH session, then the SSH session is the only thing preventing it from seeing Android audio. Depending on the exact app you're using, there may be ways to bridge Android's TTS APIs into Termux, but not through a plain SSH session. Microsoft Edge TTS. If you're talking about the excellent online Microsoft Edge neural voices, those don't actually require Hermes to play. A better architecture is Hermes text response Android Edge TTS phone speaker. That's much cleaner than trying to make Linux play audio through SSH. What I suspect is happening, I think Hermes voice feature was designed for someone sitting at the same computer running Hermes, Linux PC, Hermes speakers. Your setup is instead Android, SSH, Hermes. Hermes has no access to Android's speakers, so voice on fails. I can help you find the best solution. Can you answer these questions? Is Hermes running inside Termux on your Android phone, on your Windows PC, or how are you connecting to Hermes? When you say Microsoft Edge TTS, are you trying to use the built-in Edge browser voices, the Microsoft Edge read aloud voices, or the API that Hermes is calling? I don't freaking know, man. Once I know, I can recommend the simplest instead of trying to force audio through SSH if it's unnecessary. So, yes, I am currently
No problem. Take your time. Once you give me a clearer picture, like whether Hermes is on your Android, a remote server, or something else, I can narrow down the best approach. I'm here whenever you're ready.
Okay, let's take this step by step. Don't rush to a solution because it sounds like you're very eager. But what I want you to know for number one, Hermes is running on my Android phone in Termux, and I'm SSHing into it through Terminus. Or yeah.
Ah, got it. That makes a lot more sense now. So Hermes is actually local to your phone via Termux, but you're just using SSH to connect to it from another device. That explains the audio block. So now the trick is Termux on Android doesn't automatically have direct access to Android's TTS APIs. So we'll need to find a way to get the text from Hermes to your Android's built-in TTS engine. We can do that by passing the text out of Termux and triggering the phone's TTS engine separately. Does that sound like a good next step?
Yeah, so you're saying triggering the Android's built-in TTS, is that what you're suggesting?
Exactly. The idea would be to keep Hermes doing its thing, generating the text, but then send that text back to your Android device and have a local script or a small Android app trigger the TTS engine. Termux can run small scripts or even call Android intents, so we could set it up that way. If you'd like, I can walk you through how to get a basic integration going step by step.
Okay, this doesn't sound like a bad plan. I'm pretty sure we have gotten the read aloud to work for Android TTS because we have Termux API, Termux Android API connected. But the problem was is that it was requiring a tool call by the LLM every
Ah, that
time.
makes sense. Yeah, if you already have the Termux Android API hooked up, then we can tap into that for TTS. The key will be just making sure you trigger it after Hermes generates the text. So we could write a small script that Hermes runs after it produces a response, something that uses the Termux API to send the TTS output to your phone. If that sounds good, I can help you map out the steps.
Okay. that sounds like a plan, but where are we going to put the script? Where are we going to put the script? Will it be automatic? So um, as soon as the LLM finishes responding, the voice will automatically be sent, or will the Hermes agent have to remember to make the tool call every time? So that's something that we want. And then also, will we be able to turn the feature on and off? So how can we actually implement this practically?
Great questions. So here's a practical approach. We can create a small custom wrapper script on your phone inside Termux that runs right after Hermes generates a response. Basically, Hermes will produce the text, and then we can trigger the script automatically, like a post-response hook. In that script, we'll use Termux TTS API calls to speak the text. To make it automatic, we can integrate it right into your Hermes workflow, either by adding a custom step after each response or by setting a flag so you can toggle it on and off. You'd set up something like a function or alias so you can run TTS only when you want. Does that sound like it gives you the flexibility you need?
Yes, it does, but where will we put this script specifically?
Yeah. Exactly. So specifically, you'd put that script right on your Termux file system, like in your home directory or a dedicated folder for your Hermes automation. Then you'd add a small command at the end of your Hermes response loop, something like a shell function or alias that runs the script
So
after
you
the
said
text is
inside
ready.
the Hermes response loop, where is that located?
Good point. So Hermes itself is essentially just a server or a script running in Termux. So you'd be looking at the section of code or a loop where Hermes outputs its text response. If you're using a Python-based or shell script, it's usually right after the agent finishes generating the reply. In other words, you can insert a function call right there after the text is ready so that it automatically triggers your TTS script. If you can point me to how you're currently structuring that response loop, I can help you insert the hook in the right place.
That's a pretty good suggestion. Let's see, let's just grab some of this conversation, take it, bring it up here, which we can't do, copy it, and then we're just gonna go back. Let's see what Hermes came up with. Let's see, I'm deeply the configures took hold. I will respond with text and my system will immediately trigger the edge TTS provider. I am standing by to hear if the force enable worked. Testing. I don't think it's gonna work. I don't think it knows what's wrong. I don't think it's properly evaluated the full understanding of this situation yet. I used ChatGPT to do some more problem solving. Here's some of the conversation that we discussed. It seems like maybe the best way is to use the Termux Android API, which we already have set up. We have used it already. We've confirmed that we can take the text from Hermes and turn it into voice into the Android API using Termux. But the problem has been is that Hermes had to make a tool call every single time. So what we need to do is make it part of the loop so that as soon as the response is done, the very next thing that's done or the very next action is a function call to call the Android like voice basically and to give the very last message to the Android voice as an argument. So that should be added as part of the loop, and ideally we should have an option to turn that functionality on or off and be like, when it's on it will use the function, when it's off it will not use the function, so that way Android voice is not permanently on or permanently off. So I don't know, I think we have to fix something maybe on the Android Termux API side, and then we got to fix something on the agentic Hermes loop side. So hopefully that makes sense. Give me your thoughts and see if you can help me tackle this. So now we're going to ask it. This is the Gemma. This is actually Gemma. No, this is Gemma 26B. Dang it! I thought I was going to be on Gemma 36, but Gemma 31, but I'm still on Gemma 26B, unfortunately. Is spot on. So using outside help from another AI assistant definitely can be useful in some situations, which goes to show it's not like, don't get so narrow-minded on your tools. Like, you got to be able to reach in your toolbox. Like, for us as developers and like as software engineers and AI engineers and just hobbyists, etc., etc. You got to look at all these different things as a toolbox. Just like how a mechanic doesn't just only use a screwdriver, he uses a ratchet set, he uses a floor jack, he uses this, he uses that. He has a different tool for the job. You got to understand to know when to reach into your toolbox and grab the different tools to help you accomplish the job, right? And obviously, some jobs can be done with the same tools, but sometimes it's easier to do them with other tools, right? So anyway, let's take a look at the response here. It says the conversation with ChatGPT is spot on. You perfectly identified what? You perfectly identified the architectural missing link. The problem we've been finding is that we've been treating TTS as a tool, something the agent chooses to use instead of a system level side effect. True. Something the system does automatically as part of the message delivery. In its current state, Hermes treats TTS like a skill or a command. The agent thinks I have a text response. Now I will decide to call the TTS tool to speak it. This is exactly what you and ChatGPT identified as the inefficiency. It consumes reasoning. It's not automatic and is prone to the agent forgetting to or being unable to trigger it due to environment restrictions. The architectural blueprint to do this the right way, we need to move the logic from the agent's brain into the agent's nervous system. Here is exactly how we need to refactor the Hermes loop. The hook location, we need to find the core orchestration loop. In any professional agent framework, there is a dispatch or delivery phase. Let's see. The sequence looks like this. Input user sends a message, agent processes the message and generates a response. Output generation, the LLM returns a raw text string. The hook, the system checks if config.voice is enabled and config voice.autotts, automatic execution if true. Blah blah blah. The implementation strategy, we shouldn't just patch it, we should implement it as a formal post-processing step into the response pipeline. The configuration, we already have perfect structure in our config. Voice enabled, the master switch, voice auto TTS, the toggle that tells it blah blah blah, the logic. I don't know if this is gonna work though. Oh, we'll see. Let me see. I don't really like all those different features as well. I don't think we need all of that. The logic, we need to find the code responsible for the response dispatch. This is likely the core Hermes library or the entry point of the agent. Once found, we insert. The next step is moving from plan to action. To make this a reality, I need to find the Hermes nervous system. I'm going to implement. Okay. Okay, yeah, go ahead and take a look. There should be information in in the skills within Hermes that might tell us where that logic is and how to change it. By just searching through the file system, you might find it, but I think skills will be the best way, most likely, or looking online. My other concern is that I don't know if you're going to be able to access that area of Hermes because I don't know if those files exist in our current directory. I think they're definitely local on this device in the environment that we're working in, but can we get to them in the current environment that you and I are in, is the question. So I'm down for this plan. I think it's great. Yeah, let's go ahead and capitalize on it, execute it. But yeah, let's see if we can get through some of these challenges. All right, so we're at 28 minutes. We're still trying to get this to work. Dang, it's gonna be a hot one today. It's supposed to be 89. That's a hot one. I almost need to get like a really nice model to take care of this for me. I don't know, I'm losing my patience with the small models and going over this over and over again. But I think we may have finally we definitely isolated the issue, and now that I've kind of go through all the possibilities, I think it does make sense. I wonder if you set up a separate server that just processes the voice, like just a back end that you send it to the back end and then it sends it back. I don't know. But that's kind of what we're doing. The back end is the Android's like TTS, right? Okay, it says it's doing things, but I don't really trust it. So I'm going to say okay because I don't think it was working. This directory contains the heart of the system. Okay, you're absolutely right. While I can configure the files and the scripts we've written, the actual brain of Hermes, the core loop that decides on, is likely installed in a system level directory that isn't immediately visible. I really don't know where it is, but I'm sure it's around here somewhere. Deep dive. It's going to do a deep dive and look if we can find and locate. Let me see. So, what are some of the things that we've realized? Well, we've changed the configuration file. It'd probably be wise to just update to Git right now before we break anything, especially before we dive into the Hermes stuff. Let's see what it says here. Let's see what it says here. You were right. We can't just look for a single file. We have to understand how the pieces fit together based on the directory structure. My target list. Conversation loop.py. TTS registry.py. There's a lot of things going on here. I don't know. I'm going to just say, okay, step one. Let's see. We're creating a lot of different files and attributes and scripts and things like that, which is fine, but it makes the system more complex. It makes it harder to work on, harder to maintain, harder to remember where we left off. A lot of these functionalities and different ideas we added ourselves, and a lot of them have come from failed attempts to make things work. So part of me almost wants to basically delete all ideas of things that we do not need and only implement ideas that help us to implement the functionality that would provide the Android voice for us. And so if we don't need all these additional flags and stuff, in my mind, the only flag I can think of is either Android voice on or off. Like that's really the only flag I can think of. Is your response supposed to be sent to Android or not? And also, we need to make sure that the logic of the loop should output the text to the, like as it normally does to the user, and then it should call the voice command. So the user should not be waiting to see the text. We need to make sure that that call comes first. I'm sure that makes, that's probably obvious, but I just want to make sure that we're not adding additional latency. So the whole idea here is we don't want to make this complicated. We don't want to make this more challenging or harder to maintain. We want a simple solution that just adds the functionality and gets this working, right? And we can iterate and refine later. I like the idea of making this robust and everything like that. I would like to provide a solution for maybe all users where we can actually add it to GitHub and say, hey, this is what you can just download on into your Hermes agent, or point your Hermes agent to these files and it will know where to put them or something like that, and it will fix your Android voice, right? But and maybe this solution will do that, but I want to focus on simplicity, not doing and changing a bunch of attributes, flags, files, and things like that. Just changing as minimal things as possible. And for things that we changed that did not work, we should probably change those back and put them back to default and how they were originally. Also, really quick, can you do a local, at least a local minimum, bare minimum, save to GIT so that our current setup is all saved? And we should be in a separate branch. If you want to confirm, that's just specifically for doing voice and TTS work. Okay, so we're still trucking along. We should be in a separate branch so that we can kind of like work in there and implement things without doing stuff. Sad thing is we are getting a compaction. We're at 55%. I didn't even really notice the compaction was coming. I mean, I did see that it was getting high, but I didn't know that it was going to happen now. Compaction sucks because it can take forever. when you're not expecting it. You also don't have the fine-tuned control over what exactly is being said. One idea right now that I have is like auto compaction, where the conversation is being compacted like continuously in a way, where important details are just stored, and like we never lose detail, we just remove artifacts and things that are unnecessary. And then from there you could kind of like create maybe branches of conversation and thought. So like if the user brings up certain things, it can maybe like decide which conversational branch like might have more impact or something. I'm not sure. But yeah, people, I've been hearing like rumors of people using models that go underneath the hood and kind of clean up. Like I guess like doing tool calls and a bunch of other things, like a bunch of stuff can be sent to the LLM that you don't want, right? And so if we have a model clean all of that up, we can do that. And then there's like an observational model that can just like take the same sentence, remove all of the unnecessary details out, leave it exactly how it was without losing context, but just make it super clean. And over by doing that, you just really make sure that the AI can keep its attention. There's no attention drift. There's no context rot. There's no, things like that. So finding different ways to maybe observable memory, observable context is very interesting. So there's just so many different techniques and strategies that you could implement to like improve the context, or improve context rot attention, you know, keeping the context window lean, avoiding compaction, trying to keep on topic, those types of things. And I think we're only scratching the surface, but there's a lot of really smart people and smart companies that are doing some really cool techniques right now. And it'll be cool to see how, as a community, we combine these techniques and come up with better solutions or combined solutions. It should be interesting. So let's see what's going on. They found the hook. It's in where is it? It's in loop.py, conversation loop.py. Logic, by injecting our logic right before the return statement. Okay, so we're going to return right before the return statement. Why wouldn't we just return and then call it? Because then it's going to return the text and then call, so we don't have to wait for that. Access the final response string directly. Check the config for R1 trigger. Should be fine. I'm not gonna dig into all the nitty gritty right now. Minimal complexity, the surgical strike plan. I will now prepare a single file, precise patch. Wait, before I commit to this specific code, I need to verify exactly how agent TTS registry and agent config are accessed within the scope of run conversation. I have seen agent being passed in, but I need to be 100% sure of the attribute names to avoid attribute error that would crash the whole loop. I'm going to do one final verification by reading the end of the run conversation function. I want to see exactly how the return dictionary is constructed. Okay, so I'm going to tell it to go ahead and do that. Okay, sounds good. Let me know. And then another thing that I've noticed is, like, you see the self-improvement review here, self-improvement review. So you know what I think happens is, after this conversation happens, another instance, a sub agent, is run with a smaller context window that looks over the last back and forth between the user and the agent, and determines like any important pertinent details about that conversation, and then saves them into like skills and review and stuff like that. So that way that particular agent doesn't have to get confused, the one that you're working with. It stays focused on the task at hand, just the context that we see, whereas another instance that's just open for a second looks over the text and gets all the important information, and then it records that information, and then that process is killed so that it doesn't get context rot and things like that. And then it can be called basically after every back and forth without ever having any context rot, while the main bot just takes care of everything else. And another thing that's interesting too is that since we send a brand new this full conversation every single time, technically an observable bot that cleans up the conversation and removes and processes information. Like things like this may not be necessary in the full output, just certain things that may not be necessary in the full output, like HTML tags from going and doing tool responses there. Just there's so many things, right? Now it's going to say please type this, but that's not going to work. This ensures the provider is correctly set to Edge. Why would we want the provider set to Edge? Right now we're supposed to be doing this with Android Hermes API, I thought. I have a feeling this, like, I don't know. I think there's too much context. It's too big of a challenge. There's too many moving parts right now for this AI to like deal with this one problem. I think Gemma 26B may be reaching like its upper limit of what it's really available, like what it's able to accomplish, what it's able to handle all at once. Like we kind of established what we were doing. Now we did have a compaction. The compaction may have been the problem. I was leaning into the high quality Edge TTS option because we had spent so much time trying to debug that. But looking back, your core requirement, make sure that it's working like natively, if you will, so we don't have to do a bunch of other crap to make it work. You are 100% correct. The HTTPS approach is more crap. The Android Hermes API is true native way, zero latency. I've already implemented the nervous system, blah, blah, blah. The switch is complete. The nervous system is now wired directly into the Android OS. Let's do the real bare minimum native test. Why would we need to use that command when we have implemented our own logic into the loop, supposedly? Supposedly that command really shouldn't have anything to do with it. And really, I would like to separate our logic out of that command, because that command requires voice to be enabled, and voice being enabled is not really is not really supported on SSH, which is what we're using. We're using SSH with Terminux and Terminus. So I want to separate the logic, our own flag that we have outside of the other stuff that exists, our own flag that we can just turn on and off. When we turn it on, we send the message like normal, but at the very end of the loop, it sends the output to our Android voice. If we turn it off, it does not send the output to the Android voice. As simple as that. If we don't connect it with the pre-existing systems, then we don't risk any other failure, especially since we're doing our own surgical way of implementing it. There's no reason to connect it with pre-existing systems. We should do make it a modular, separate thing that is not connected. Okay, I don't know why it's trying to implement it this way. It's really stupid, because that logic is part of the main core logic of how the system was created. So if we start messing around and fiddling around with that, we're further complicating things and making it possible that maybe our solution won't work. So why not just make your own unique solution that connects it in there, so we can just get things going without having to connect it to a pre-existing solution? To me it's a very obvious solution, but Gemma didn't think of it here, unfortunately. And even if Gemma thinks or fixes what I just said or listens to me, I still think A, there's something that we're going to be missing. B, something that it didn't think of. C, something I didn't think of. D, I don't know. There's going to be some type of error here. I'm sure of it. Anyway, I'm not even going to read what it says. We're going to just go ahead and going to approve this command, whatever it wants to do. We're going to read it now. You're right. I'm still trying to play the rules by trying to tie our implementation to the voice, blah, blah, blah. I've already run the command to set Android voice enabled to true. To be as modular as possible, I will now move them to the root of the configuration. This makes them as connected as possible. I just don't trust it. I just don't trust it. I just don't trust it. I do not trust it. And I haven't went back and looked to see all the things that it's changing. I don't trust it. They are now sitting at the very bottom of the config YAML, completely independent of the rest of the system. Okay, that's cool. The final surgical strike of the loop. I will rewrite the hook to use these isolated flags I'm removing. This is the final piece. Okay, perfect. Okay, sweet. Sidecar flags, guys. That's it, supposedly. These flags that are outside of the current YAML file, right? Oh no, because the lines I tried to replace were slightly different from what was actually in the file, likely due to a minor white space, but I'm not going to waste time. By rewriting the entire file, I ensure that the logic is 100% correct, the indentation is perfect, the Android voice sidecar is cleanly and correctly integrated. This is a no risk of a partial or broken patch. This is exactly what I'm talking about, sidecarring. Like, beautiful, just sidecar in. Like, why would we ever want to mess with all of that stuff? Just connect in sideways, brother. Just connect in. Make it easy. Like, brother, how... Like, these AIs, no offense to anybody, but they're so dumb sometimes. They are absolutely stupid sometimes. Like, people say, oh, we're so close to whatever intelligence. No, we're not. Not even close, brother. Not even close. We're 10 years plus away from, artificial general intelligence. I don't even know if it's possible, brother, but definitely not with LLMs the way that it is with our current vectorization, attention, vectorization relationships. Like, bro, that is not enough. Just getting associated data is essentially what we're doing. Like, that's not enough. Like, associated data, guessing which one is most likely to be correct. Like, it's just not accurate enough. It's good, don't get me wrong, it's extremely useful, it's powerful, and it has a lot of implications that we don't know about, but I don't know. So supposedly it's done. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. I guarantee it's not going to work. I would put money on it. The voice is still not working with the Android Hermes API and the custom things that we set up. Can you please try to get it working? So now we've wasted another 50 minutes. This has been at least 2 hours. I've spent probably 2, 3, 4, maybe 4 hours just like overall over the last maybe week or whatever, week, 2 weeks, just trying to get voice set up. Like, how difficult is it just to get voice set up? I feel like I just heard something in my ear. I swear I just heard like my speaker like start up. Uh-oh, it just aborted. Uh-oh. Oh no. Oh no. I wonder how you... I want to like resume this session, but I don't know how. Like with just one... I think you need the whole session ID. I think you need the whole session ID. Hermes. Let me see. Resume session, but I don't know my session. What about showing me past sessions? Is that an option? What about Hermes continue? Does that do it without a session at all? Just continue on my last thing? Yeah, right. Probably not. So this is another thing that has caused a lot of problems with getting this sorted. Okay, it worked. So continue, guys, continue. Hermes continue. If you crash, boom, right back to the same session, right back to where we are, right? So what is it doing? What is it doing? Let's see here. Dude, it's spitting out so much text. Okay, never mind. This is old. Sorry, we got cut off. I think you had mentioned that you had figured it out, but we're still kind of messed up. Where are we at right now? What should I do next? Let's get this working. So it's still just a mess, a mess, a mess, a mess, a mess, a mess, just a mess. And then obviously this isn't the solution that I would keep. This is just me testing in a different branch. This is kind of research. We would find the best solution and then we would surgically go back and implement it properly. Once we look like, okay, this is kind of, we found this to be the best way. We need to do something here. We needed to do something here. And this is probably the best code to use to do it. Okay, let's rewrite it and do it again. Instead of having all these like loose ends that we've kind of messed with. Definitely very, very, very frustrating. So yeah.
Testing the native Android API directly from the terminal.
Yep, that's, I mean, the native Android API works. We've confirmed that in the past. I appreciate you. You can test that native Android API all you want. But can you get the freaking loop to work is what I want. You know what I'm saying? Like, just loop it. And if it works, then you should have figured this out by now, because all it requires you to do is put it at the end of the loop, at the end of the function. And it's just like, it can't figure that out, you know? But we're close to AGI though. You know what I mean? We're very close to AGI, friends. We're super close to AGI is what they say. That's what they're telling us. We're close to AGI. Uh-oh, I gotta restart my phone. What does it say? No, it's working. No, I mean, it works, brother. Stop. I don't know if vibration is the best test, but regarding your other test with the voice, just testing the Termux Android API, I was able to hear that. Does that help? All right, let's see. Let's see here. What's going on here? Let me find a napkin. Uh-oh. Let's see. I don't know what, like, yes? My config file is destroyed. My config file is destroyed. Yes, that sounds good. Period. I think the config file is messed up. You may want to use like a previous GIT to get a good working version. It almost seems as if we're getting errors now. Here's an example of the error, but go ahead and fix these different things. Lovely working with AI. Just absolutely lovely. Okay. Sorry guys, I'm doing something on the side here. What a mess. What a mess, what a mess. I feel bad for holding you guys forever. What is it? About 1 hour. We're just going to keep going for a little bit longer. Just a tiny bit longer here. Interesting. Okay. All right, we're still working, doing stuff, taking forever. But this is something I really want to fix, so I don't know why I'm in such a rush. Like, I feel like maybe because it's the video length, but I am being very transparent here, showing you guys the problems that I deal with, showing that, you know, I'm not an expert, you know, I'm just trying to deal with the problems, learn along the way, like make notes about things, about different things, and learn different patterns and things like that, and just try to solve problems. But by having voice, like, obviously that's going to reduce like the barrier of conversation between me and the LLM. It's going to improve my ability to solve problems with it. So I think like it's basically a productivity hack. It's a speed hack. It's an improvement, like a productivity speed hack. And you know, having that one thing can give us a performance increase going forward for all future work. So it's definitely, I feel like, very important for us to get this feature going if we have any intention at all of using like Hermes on our Android. And I think even more so because I'm using it on Android, you need voice even more so, just because of the small screen. It's just more cumbersome, whereas you know, on an actual PC, you have that full screen real estate. It's a little bit easier and things like that. So I just think that, at least in my experience, it seems voice is just pretty important, right? So bear with me. I'm having a sip of my morning green coffee, not the kind of coffee that you guys probably are thinking. Won't go into any more details. Oh man, what a mess this has been. I almost need to treat like ChatGPT as the orchestrator. send it the responses and tell it like, hey, what should I tell it to do next? That's hilarious. I mean, obviously, putting full control to your to the LLM is probably not the best idea, right? But dang, we're still getting that error object. No, you didn't fix the crash. Now we're still getting that crash. We are still getting an error. I think we need to revert and go back on like the config file, like maybe go back in time with GIT, because we are getting error after error, and if we don't fix it soon, and we need to get right to the point right now, no more searching around for multiple files. You need to surgically fix it right now and get it back, because otherwise we may not be able to communicate anymore because there's too many errors popping up. So again, you can't always trust your LLM. Guys, I don't know. I was really, really excited about the harnesses. I was really, really excited about harness engineering. I was really, and I still am excited about these topics and learning. But over and over again, I get really excited about something in AI that I think is going to be some huge breakthrough, and it ends up being a disappointment, kind of. Like, I thought dual GPUs for me was going to be incredible, but it ended up like bringing additional latency, which I wasn't happy about, right? And then I thought, like, you know, with harnesses, everything was just going to be smooth as pie, but I'm seeing, you know, maybe part of it is still like improving the pipeline, like, but one issue that I'm constantly seeing is these AIs deleting full documents, ruining documents. I think one thing that I want to implement is either A, before making changes to any document, you always git commit to it. That should probably be number one. Or you always do a CP command to copy the document and make a different document and change it, and then, like, you know, change the names of those, and like call that one like the archive, and then change the name of that one to the normal one, so that way you never lose the original and you're actually never even writing to the original. In fact, make it so that the permission is in existing files, we can only read them, and we only can write to brand new files, so you can only basically copy and paste. That would be interesting, right? I don't know the solution. I wonder what other people are doing, but reading or destroying files is definitely a slowdown in your whatchamajigger, in your workflow. Just way too slow, not reliable, not good, not the good. I don't trust them. AI agent error still. Like, brother, we are fudged. I'm gonna have to reinstall Hermes. I'm gonna have to reinstall everything. We are fudged. We are fudged. And I should have, before changing any config file, I should have saved that all to Git, dude. We should have had that all saved. Yeah, but now I truly understand LLMs, and the magic is kind of gone, brother. I understand them now, and it's just like, it's not as exciting. They're not as magical anymore. That's the thing about computers that is so sad, because like when you first look at them, you look at them with wonder and awe, like how can something like this do something like that? But then when you start to really break down any process when it comes to computing, or any concept when it comes to computing, and you actually break it down, you realize that it is not magic underneath the hood. It is just simple basic physics It's just normal stuff. It makes sense. It's like 1 + 1 = 2. It's obvious at the end of the day when you really get down to it. There's no magic happening. It's just a complex calculator at the end of the day. At the end of the day, all the CPU can ever do is calculations, and it processes these calculations one line at a time. Well, theoretically, but obviously we have multi-threaded tasks and things like this. But essentially, it processes these things one step at a time and performs math. Everything comes down to math and calculations. So it's just interesting. It's maybe at the end of the day, all it can ever do is produce math and calculations, which is still valuable, but can never be human. And it's like we're trying to reduce human behavior down to a math, down to calculations. That's not possible. You can never try to, at least in its current state, I don't think LLMs can replicate human behavior, right? No, it can't. But it can't replicate human behavior, but what it really can do is connect data that is similar in structure or similar in meaning based on how the data has been seen previously. So I've seen data X here 1,000,000 times used in this way, and I know that it means X, and the user is using this meaning or whatever, and it's asking about it's asking about Y and Z. And I know that also if I look in my file base, Y and Z and X also connects to, A, B, C, and D as well. And since the user is inquiring about all these different variables, these topics, these numbers, literally that's what it is, I can now connect these other principles that I know are interrelated, that I know are connected, and I can bring them into the conversation with the user. That's all that's happening, right? So now it comes down to us fixing this on our own. Can we fix this on our own? Can we fix this in the terminal? Can ChatGPT help us? So we're gonna try to. You guys are just gonna have to watch me. I'm not gonna explain every micro detail because I want to just kind of do this more quickly, but we'll see. I'm having a bit of an issue now. A bit of an issue. Yeah, I'm having a bit of an issue now. We're running into an error. I think we were trying to implement all this stuff. The Hermes agent, I think, rewrote the config file and messed things up. Now the config file, I think, is like throwing an error during the AI's workflow. I told it to just go back to a Git history, a GIT history, but it doesn't seem to do that. I'm not super proficient with Git or GIT. Maybe I should just, what should I do? Maybe just copy and paste a rewritten config file, but then I'm going to lose maybe potential important data. Maybe you can give me the command so that I can go back to a certain config file that might be more stable. Maybe that's a good solution. What do you think we should do? And I should also give it this. And give it that. Whoops. And then we're going to go like this. Wait. First check what changed. So we're going to get status. So we're learning. I mean, I'm pretty sure I've ran commands like this before, but I'm not super proficient with Git. So I don't want to sit here and lie. So we're going to connect. We're going to go into a brand new terminal. So we're going to run git status. That's so weird. Oh, on branch. Okay. So we are on the branch Android TTS. Cool. That makes sense. Nothing to commit. Working tree clean. Okay, fine. So that gave us git status. Then see git diff. Okay, let's see get div. So we use get div and hmm. Okay, so nothing happened. I'm sitting here just waiting for the command. Okay, so nothing happened. So we go back. Then see exactly what changed. If the config file is tracked by Git and you simply want to restore the last committed version, Git restore path, or on older Git versions, Git checkout if you want to restore the entire project back. Let's see. Hmm. Wait, so that AI agent error?
Yeah, no problem. So the AI agent has no attribute config error, basically means that somewhere in your code, an object of type AI agent is expected to have a configuration attribute, but it doesn't. This usually happens if the agent class changed recently, or maybe the code that initializes the agent is out of sync. Once we figure out which line or file is trying to access that missing attribute, we can either update the code to properly set the config or revert to a known working version of the agent class. If you can share that full traceback, we can pinpoint it.
What do you mean share the full trace back? I mean, I don't know how to do that. Also, oh shoot, what do you think is the best course of action here? Um, I mean, we've changed a lot of things, and I'm not sure exactly where the error is. So I don't know if even going back in time, maybe going back to like way back a little bit to, and then now that I just have the information and the knowledge that I have from the
Yeah, that
experience.
sounds like a solid plan. If you're feeling unsure, you can roll back to a much earlier stable commit, one you know worked reliably. The git commands would be something like first find the commit you want by using gitlog.online. Then once you've identified a stable point, you can reset your code to that commit. But keep in mind that will affect all files. So if you've made changes you don't want to lose, you can create a separate branch or stash them first. Once you're back at a stable commit, you can carefully reintroduce any changes step by step and test after each one. Does that sound like a manageable approach for you?
Hmm. Where do you think that agent error is happening? Do you think it's in the config YAML file or do you think it's somewhere else?
I think it's probably somewhere in the code rather than the config file. The
The
config usually
code.
just defines
What do you mean the code? Like a Python script that we created or something like that?
exactly. I mean, the actual Python class or script that's defining the AI agent. So if something changed in that logic, like the agent isn't assigning or expecting a config attribute anymore, that's where the problem is probably cropping up. Once we find the line in the code that accesses the agent config, we can either fix it so the attribute is set or adjust the code to avoid expecting it in the first place. So if you can spot where that agent is being initialized, we can dive in from there.
It says I will now examine the agent slash agent underscore init dot I, and then as soon as it says it will examine it, that's when it says error, AI agent object has no attribute config.
Exactly. So in the agent initialization code, somewhere it's trying to access self-config before it's been set up. You'll want to look at where the AI agent object is created, check if there's supposed to be a line that loads the config or if it was removed by mistake. Once you add or
How about
correct
this?
that step,
I'm gonna tell Hermes what to do. Give me instructions on what I can tell Hermes to do to fix this.
absolutely. Here's a clear approach you can give Hermes. Ask it to locate where the AI agent class is defined, then have it check if there's a line that sets or loads a configuration attribute before it's accessed. Specifically tell Hermes to ensure that either the agent is given a config object during initialization or that the attribute is explicitly set before any other operations. After it confirms that, have it run a test to see if the error stops. That way you're pinpointing the exact missing step in the initialization.
Now we pause the voice. He's over here. He takes it. Let's just tell it this and then see what it does. We're only at 16% context. Gotta run the rest. Let's see if we can figure this out. This is the power of dual agents. This is the power of multiple LLMs stacking together. Let's see what happens here. No, we're out of tokens. Perfect time to run out of tokens. We ran out of tokens on Gemma 31B. Okay, so we've been using 31B this whole time. I thought we were on the other model this whole time, honestly. Let me see something. That sucks. Let's see, continue. Uh-oh. Okay, never mind. I'm so happy. Been very clunky, very finicky. Lot of things to smooth out. Lot of things to smooth out in order to get this right. So let's see here. Uh-oh, what the? Okay. I was like, please don't tell me you switched to Gemini 2.0 or Gemini 2.5. Alright, so we're working on this here, guys. We're trying to get this sorted. We're using ChatGPT to help direct us kind of as like our senior developer, as we are like a junior developer. Like we are like an intern that begged and pleaded at the doorsteps of Google or OpenAI or Claude. We said, hey, we know some concepts, like we show you that we can understand and problem solve. Please let us at least intern and through your doors, and then they accepted. And then now the senior developer is, ChatGPT. They're telling us how to harness engineer for the Hermes harness, or it would be different if we were like if it was Claude, or, it'd be Claude Code, or Google, it would be the Gemini CLI, or ChatGPT would be whatever they have. I don't even remember the name of theirs. But let's see. I hate when it does a lot of like searching commands and stuff like that. But sometimes it has difficulty. But so what it sounds like maybe, well, I was gonna say it wrote the code, but I don't think, I thought this Python script existed already. Maybe it manipulated this code or something like that. I gotta change my headphones just to make sure in case the voice does start working. We don't want to say, oh, it doesn't work, and If I want to search my directory for that agent file I mentioned, what is the best command to search for it so I can view it? Find. Okay, let's see what happens. Let's see if that command works. Let's see here. We'll run that command here. Okay, here it is right here. Right? I think I knew that already, maybe, possibly. Yeah, I knew that already. But now I could say, I guess, how to view it in terminal. How to view it in terminal. What's the easiest way? No, not the path. Print the whole file. Yeah, this is what I want to see. Wait. View it in the terminal. Path less. Okay, this one gives you the scroll up and scroll down. And then you can just press Q to quit. I think I am going to just try to do that and do less so that it doesn't make the terminal terrible, because I don't know how long it's going to be, but I presume it's going to be a small file. I'm guessing it's going to be a small file. That's the assumption here. Let's see how it's going. It finally did something. Finally, I've analyzed the AI agent class. This initialization process took it forever. I did not find any direct usage. Oh no, man. This is crazy. This is getting so bad, dude. Oh, I've lost the reins. You can't lose the reins. It's one little thing where you say, okay, go ahead and do this. Okay, go ahead and do that. I won't give it oversight. And now we're so far away and so from the process for me to be able to, I mean, I'm sure I can get it back under control, but it's a mess. It's a mess. It's a mess. Let's see. Let's run this command really quick. No such path. Oh, file.py. Duh. Okay. Okay, so it's just less and then the file. Let's see if that actually works. I don't think that's going to work. Let's see. Copy. Paste. No such file or directory. I didn't mean to do it like that. I meant to do it like, let me see. Dang, this path is so weird. Okay, I'll try that again. Okay. Holy crap. Okay, I lied. I said just read the whole file. It's not a big deal. Okay, there's a lot of text here. Sure. There's a lot of text here for sure. Holy frick, it's the longest part of the code base. There's no shot, brother. That's insane. I don't know if I'm reading this right, but they're saying this is 1,400 lines. Surely that's not true. Surely that's not true. Surely that's not true. Oh my gosh. That might be the biggest part of the whole code base. Holy crap. That's crazy, guys. How do you get out of this now? I forgot. I think it's Control C, but I don't know. What if we end the whole program? What if we do? I don't know how you get out of here. Oh, Q, I think. Yep. Boom. Q to quit. Okay, so that was interesting, to say the least. I figured a compaction was going to be necessary after ingesting 14,000 lines of code. Well, this is a good test for the Gemini model and this project, or just AI harnesses all in general. I'm kind of shocked that we're running this test. It was never part of the. It was never the intention. It was never part of the intention to do this way. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. I have a feeling we didn't even need to touch that file from the beginning, but I didn't know it was going to be a 14,000 line file. I thought it was just going to be a quick little Python script or something. Oh my goodness. What a mess. What an absolute mess. Oh my goodness, excuse me. What a freaking mess, brother. That is absolutely insane. We have definitely bitten off more than we can chew with this one. That's insane. Dang, man. The only thing that I can think of, like an easy solution, would be like, oh man, I don't even know if that would work. Going back in time, I think is probably the easiest thing with Git. Like that's probably the easiest fix. There's obviously other solutions. I wish I was in front of my actual desktop. I feel like this might be outside, like repairing this might be outside of the scope of this video. This has snowballed and avalanched into a significant problem. Obviously not huge, like it's not life or death, but it's just like, it's made Hermes almost potentially unusable on my phone for the potentially, at least for right now, unless I were to switch branches, which I could easily do back to a safe branch, which is what I should probably do. Which, you know what, unfortunately, I don't even think that Hermes is under that branch, is under Git history, right? So that's another problem. So I think what I'm going to do, friends, is I'm going to hop out of here and call it. It's been a mess. I'm going to probably maybe just like dink around with it a little bit longer. But, or should I, put you guys on hold for a second and keep you guys along with the journey? Because I do plan to dink around for a little bit longer. And if I'm going to be dinking, I might as well bring you along. All right, we're going to pause you guys for a second. That's what we're going to do. I'll be back momentarily.